Right. Welcome, guest, member. Are we're live? Okay. Can you hear the background, Jim?
No,
You can't hear the sound, huh?
I can hear you, but there is no sound.
Okay. Let me see. I thought that was weird. All right.
I heard the
Well,
music, the intro music.
we're going to get started here. We're live today. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I'm kind of excited about that. Episode number 381. And P.N.G.Z cast, episode number 381. Get ready with me. We're going to say the chant together tonight, Jim. What
All right.
Jim's probably thinking, what's the chant?
What is it?
Let me see if I can get it together here in just a few seconds here. So once again, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Jim out of Tucson is with us. Hopefully he'll be with us throughout the P.N.G.Z cast. He's feeling a little under the weather. I'm Santos, not your famous Santos, out of Stockton, California, founder of the Soldiers of Self-Mastery since 2016. Excited. Once again, we're going to go back into the past. We're going to dive into the future. Well, we're going to dive into the past. Are you with me? All right, let's chant. Let's get ready to chant here. The music is down low. You can hear the music. Can you hear the music, Jim?
Yes, I can hear the music.
All right. So welcome to our P.N.G.Z live cast, episode number 381. Buckle up or buckle in. Actually, it's buckle up so you don't throw up. No, I'm just kidding. Buckle up. Make sure you're clicked in really good. Turn down all distractions. Did you bring a pen? Did you invite a friend? My name is Hunkle Pren. No, I'm just kidding. My name is not Hunkle Pren. Once again, so there's the chant. You had a chance to say that with me. So we're started. We're live. I'm excited to be here. We've got some talking points. We've got a call to action. And Jim has some kind of a thought process he's going to share with us here in a minute. And then I'm going to get to the proverb. And I'm going to welcome all of you wonderful people out there. And I hope that you guys join us tonight. I hope that you participate. I hope if I ask a question or I present something that you shoot me down or you say, Santos, I'm in. Or, hey, how do you do that? What have you. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. All right. Well, good evening. It's good to see everyone here. Looks like we have Blaze Journey, Mr. Kevan. Good evening, Raymond Simmons. Yeah. So I'd like to go ahead and talk about. I guess you can go and say traps that can go ahead and get us into problems. And I think there's an acronym that can remind us to be aware of when we are vulnerable, to our addictions. And I think the acronym is HALT. You got to be careful when you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. HALT. If you're any of those, we can go ahead and put ourselves in a vulnerable position, and we can be susceptible to be sucked into, doing the bad things, doing the wrong things. If we're angry, it can go out and cause us to flee back to the comfort zone. In this case, I guess you can go and say gambling. If you are lonely, right? I think I remember a Dave Ramsey episode where the guy asked, are you lonely? To a guy who complained about gambling quite a bit. Are you lonely? Yeah. You can be depressed, right? So all those kinds of things, if we are aware of those times when we are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, we can say, I better be careful. I better be careful. I can go ahead and be vulnerable to these things. Like I'm a little bit under the weather, right? I put myself in a position where I overdid my exercises, and I made myself vulnerable to the germs. And I caught a head cold. Oh well. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens. So we have to be careful. We got to be careful with ourselves. That's just another thing about being aware, right? Having that awareness of what can go ahead and pull us back in. If we are aware, that's an extra tool that can help us protect us from the demons, the addictions, right? Those dark places.
Exactly. Let me.
Halt.
Okay.
Hungry, angry, lonely, or thirsty.
Halt. All right, everybody, halt. All right. By the way, again, the beautiful duckling, Mr. Kevan, Blaze Journey, Raymond, Simmons, and those of you that are watching by way of the 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 weary waves of the internet. Greetings to you, guest and member out there. All right, I'm gonna read the proverb. We're gonna be talking a little bit about uh possibly, is it possible that you can create vision to is it possible that you can create new vision for yourself today to go forward with possible dreams of the past? What were you thinking as a teen? Is that even possible to go back there for a little bit? Think about that for a moment. If you, and I struggle with this, I'll be right up front with those of you that are here. I struggle going back to my teen years as I was thinking about this message, this topic, because again, you gotta get motivated. You gotta find something that's gonna motivate you, or else you're gonna fucking stay, pardon my French, you're gonna fucking stay right in your fucking slump. So you have to create. We talked about this last episode. If you were here, we talked about vision. So getting vision from your teenage years might be a bit challenged. That's what we're going to talk about here. And again, hopefully you'll participate. Hopefully you'll walk away. Hey, I've got the golden pen. I received the award, Jim. I've got the golden pen. I received the award. See, when you journal for a lifetime, you receive the golden pen. I got it in the mail. How did they find me? How did they know that I was the journaler? Anyways, I'm just kidding. Let me get into the proverb here. And if you got a question, please ask your question. Challenge us. Don't sit there like a bump on the log. You're not going to learn. You got to challenge us. If you don't challenge us, you're not going to learn. If we don't challenge you, you're not going to learn. The only way that we can learn is when we're excited. You cannot learn, and it's I give a lot of credit to Jim because he's under the weather. It is hard to change, transform, learn something, get excited when your energy is very low, low key. So let me get into the proverb real quick, and Mr. Kevan, who else is with us? People are coming in and out here. So did you get the topic? The topic is about going back and thinking about your dream, thinking about what were you daydreaming about in high school? Has that fulfilled in your life what you were dreaming about, what you were daydreaming about in high school or while you were driving your vehicle, whatever? Go ahead, Jim. You got a thought? I got a proverb I'm going to get to here in a minute.
Yeah, when I think about going back into the past, sometimes we just are just trying to survive. That was the dream. That's what was the goal, to be in a comfortable place where we didn't have to be threatened all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that shapes our future. I'm thinking about driving down the freeway, and I saw all these tents at a park because a soccer game was going on. And I'm thinking to myself, am I missing out on not being a part of that? And so for some people, that's a lot of fun and they look forward to that kind of stuff. But for me, it doesn't turn me on, And I'm thinking to myself, is that bad? Is it wrong that me not being enthusiastic to be a part of like a big recreational soccer match with a bunch of kids? I mean, there's something wrong with me And I was thinking to myself, well, that's just something I'm not into that much, and I accept that. Sometimes we get programmed into thinking that we're missing out in life by not participating in what's mainstream. We put ourselves down and we say there's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I think it's important to just kind of ask yourself, what makes me happy? What truly makes me happy? It's like being connected. I think is something that's enjoyable to me. With
Yeah.
good people, having meaningful talks that I like to go ahead and discuss, not nonsense, superficial, you know,
Yeah.
chat, but something that's meaningful, having conversations that improve our lives and, are thoughtful, being a part of this program, talking to people who, have an interest in things that we like on self-improvement, that's always, something that I like, that makes me happy, that I look forward to. So we got to go out and be careful, It's like, what do we truly like? What really turns us on? Motivates us, that we look forward to. I mean, like, if you're going to the casino or you're going to your vices, well, I mean, is that really something that you like? What about that do you really like? Are you trying to just escape something, I mean, it's like, think about it. It's like when you're a little kid, right? You love going to your room, let's say. Why? Was it the room that really turned you on, or was it escaping from the bullies, from the people who put you down, maybe your parents, or just, the threats in the outside world,
Mhm. That has an impact. All of that has an impact because it fragments your thinking process. We're going to get into that here in a minute, but I want to read the proverb before we do get into this conversation. Isaiah 26, verse 4. For all you Bible thumpers out there. No, I'm just kidding. Don't bust my chops. I'm not a church person. I just read the Bible. Trust ye in the Lord forever. This is Isaiah 26, verse 4. It says, trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. Lord, I need everlasting strength to keep me from gambling permanently. Lord, I need everlasting strength to help me get up on Monday morning. Why do I need everlasting strength to get up on Monday morning? Because there's so much uncertainty. There's just so much uncertainty. Anyhow, that's the proverb for today. I also have this thing I want to read, and we're going to get into this topic. If you're struggling with the BFL, you're struggling. And by the way, I really like the questions. I like what you're doing here. I don't want to get too distracted. But a beautiful duckling says here, it was my wildest dream. And appreciate the comments. So you know what? Keep commenting. Like the broadcast. Share the broadcast if you can. And be willing to share and support this broadcast. I ask of you to do that as I work on doing that for you. Thank you, Mr. Kevan. What are the tips? We're going to get into this. We're going to talk about you have to create new vision for yourself if you're going to go forward. There's a new year coming. What is going to motivate the gambler? Really? Journaling, mirror talk, this podcast itself? Is this podcast itself going to motivate? No. Your vision. So let me read this to you before we go forward and discuss what Jim was just sharing. Reflecting on your teenage dreams can be important because it often gives insight into your passions. Maybe you're not living your passion right now. And that's where your struggle is. You don't know what your passion is. You just don't know what really makes you fucking tick. Pardon my French. It's the truth. You just don't know it. Do I struggle with that at times on certain projects and things that I'm doing? And the purest forms of ambition you once had. During adolescence, many people have dreams that aren't influenced by the constraints of adult responsibilities. Please listen to this one here, right? They're not when you're thinking back then when you're younger, there was no constraints. You didn't have to pay the Pacific Gas and Electric. You didn't have to go down there and pay the taxes on your vehicle every or what have you. You didn't have adult responsibility. So revising those can help reconnect with your sense of purpose. If you hear anything we say tonight, I hope that you heard this, that if you don't have that vision, if you don't have that step, if you don't have that fire, if you don't have that direction, something that is exciting you to move in a different direction, you can try to reflect on this stuff that we're talking about. However, it is also important to balance. It is also important to balance this with growth and change. Some dreams may no longer align with who you've become, while others might serve as an inspiration for new goals. So reflecting on this may help you kickstart. You know, I was watching this guy trying to start a motorcycle, and the old motorcycles, you got to kickstart it real hard, right? And that Kickstarter snaps back, and that's how it feels sometimes. You might feel like right now, you're trying to start that thing, and that thing's just snapping back, almost throwing you off the bike. You got to hold on, right? So this is a good place to remind us that we have to hold on. So go ahead, Jim. We read the proverb, fragmented memories, survival mode, emotional blocks. You were talking about this earlier, right? Traumatic experiences can cause memory fragmentation. Certain events may be vividly remembered while other periods might feel hazy or lost. So this can make recalling specific thoughts or dreams from your childhood more difficult. What about survival mode? During trauma, your brain might focus more on survival mode. Didn't you talk about, didn't you say about you? Did you say that you were living in survival mode? You were speaking about survival mode, which can make it harder to connect with your deeper thoughts or future aspirations from that time. Emotional blocks, trauma can cause emotional blocks where you might unconsciously avoid certain memories because of the pain attached to them.
Now, I think when you're trying to pursue something, I think we focus too much on being happy instead of purpose. I think if you find purpose in your life, you will go ahead and find a reason to push through, right? I think you'll find an ability to get satisfaction. You'll find motivation if you can find your purpose. I mean, like, there's so many things that can distract us: TV, gambling, alcohol, being with friends, drinking. I mean, you can go ahead and put yourself in certain moods, but I mean,
Your own self-talk.
to get deeper, to find a purpose, I think is a stronger pull in the direction that we want to go in, to find that purpose. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, kids, don't really have too much of a purpose. Very few kids have a purpose because they probably haven't experienced too much of life. I mean, it's like, if I think about myself, I think about, what drives me, you know, being able to go ahead and create something, you know, and to use that creation to live, to go and sustain myself, to provide a service or a product to the public, right? By myself, to help people, is I think that's a very powerful motivation. It gives you a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of competence. It gives you a sense of worth. If you can go and create something that you can go and provide to people. It doesn't even have to be a business. It could be, some type of service. A skill. You know that you can go and provide. And I tell you what, when you go ahead and serve other people, that's a tremendous feeling of
Yeah.
accomplishment, you know. And that's what I'm thinking about. It's like, how can we serve? How can we serve others? How can we serve ourselves? I think that's the route towards finding that good place, you know, in our emotions. And I saw Mr. What is it? Who is it?
After
Blaze
the
Journey
bug
was talking about
by
what
Amy.
are the tips to calm when we start to get stimulated, overwhelmed from all the distractions. For me, you know, I'm starting to become very aware of stupid thoughts, and I call them, you know, demonic thoughts, devil thoughts. You know, and I just asked, you know, in my mind, you know, God, please take these thoughts away from me. God, you know, protect me from these stupid thoughts, these stupid ideas, you
Mhm.
know, that will go and pull you into the pit, right, of the BFL, right? Right? Like you said there, Santos. So Blaze Journey, you know, you have to have that good focal point, you know, and in this case, you know, it's God, right? God, Jesus, take these stupid thoughts away from me. You know, it works for me, works for me. And, you know, it's like I put my focus on something that's better instead of the darkness, you know. I mean, like, it's kind of interesting. I go out night time, like I get up early in the morning, and I was going to go to the shop and do some work, and it's dark, you know. And in my mind, my imagination, I'm creating a negative atmosphere in my mind, just because of my imagination. You know, I perceive, oh, it's dark, it's scary, it's, you know what's out there. You know, my mood is not that bright, you know. But that's just my imagination, right? And I'm thinking, you know, the day is the day, right? Still the same stuff. It's just the only difference is, you know, it's kind of dark in the morning, you know, but I'm concocting all these thoughts in my mind, you know, maybe subconsciously, to go and put a very subtle negative slant on my situation. And I realize it's just my imagination. Just my imagination. That's a song from the Cranberries right there. Just my
Well,
imagination. Just my imagination.
just okay. Just my imagination.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
we're
we're
gonna.
aware of these things, if we're aware of these negative thoughts, if we're aware of our imagination running wild,
Well,
okay,
we have to be. You have to be. If you're going to forge ahead in these times that we're living in, I've got a clip I want to play. I heard this story. I've watched this story a couple times on TED Talk. We're probably not going to have a whole chance to watch the whole program, but this gentleman is talking about weaknesses. It's very interesting what he says, and I want to share it with those of you that are here. If you care to hang out for another, 15, 20 minutes with us here, if you truly care about self mastery and self development and creating new vision for yourself, hopefully this new year might bring in something better for you than what you've had this previous year. I don't know what it is that you're looking for. Why are we even meeting here? People come and go. Why are we meeting here? Why are we listening to this stuff about thinking about visions of the past? How is that going to help? Right? While trauma complicates memory, it doesn't erase your capacity to reflect on or recover certain aspects of your childhood. So you might be struggling big time. You might be struggling big time. And right now, we're taking just a few minutes just to reflect on something that was very important to you when you were younger. And if you can even do that, I struggle with this. I struggle. It's a challenge. And that's why I like these things, because they're a challenge. And honestly, Jim, Laura, Mark, Mr. Kevin, Raymond, whoever else is on here, the only time that you're going to truly feel alive is when you're challenged, folks. Maybe that's the real reason why you gamble, because that's the only time that you really feel stimulated. So, and of course, that's a big fat lie. You got to create something, either that or you must have a lot of money to be giving into that. Because if you continue, that's what I thought. Well, I'm never going to run out of money. I used to think that way. And then the day came, I ran out of money. I hit rock bottom. It wasn't that I ran out of money. I hit rock bottom. I want to do this here. If there's somebody here on the live feed, if you need support, if you're struggling with gambling, I want to take just a minute here and share this. My Skype, if you want to Skype with me, we can do this. Skype is so easy to use. Santos Jr. Very easy. Santos Jr. 777. I'll even put it on here. If you want to sit and maybe if you've got some things, in fact, it's funny, Jim, you and I were talking about the future of blockchain. We were talking about the future of DeFi, decentralized finance. We were talking about cryptocurrencies. I've learned so much about cryptocurrencies. It's incredible. I'm learning who's getting involved in all this stuff too, which is even more bizarre. But anyways, we're not here to talk about DeFi or anything like that, cryptocurrencies. But I am interested in that. I am studying all of that as much as I can. Santos Jr. 777. I don't know if somebody, Jim, can you type in here or no? You couldn't type.
I can't, unfortunately, no.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get eventually somebody that can type and help me, like moderating, to help me stay focused because I've got too many things at one time. You know, and I'm glad that there's not a lot of people asking a lot of questions. That would be very difficult. But if you want to connect with me, so I'm asking you to please share. I'm asking you to support this channel. Somebody said, "Hey, Santos, how can we give? How can we donate?" You can do that through YouTube. There's a little place there where you can actually give through YouTube, and it does connect to the mission. And again, if you want to support this mission, you reach out to me. You can reach out to me. I'm here to support you. I'm even willing to give you 45 minutes for free of a strategy session that, frankly, I believe will blow your mind if you sit on with me and you just pick at my brain and challenge me. It's amazing what will come out. It'll come out of you too if you're willing to challenge yourself. So I wanted to share that. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this video here for a few minutes, but I want us to think about these things. These are steps to just think about because I know time is going by very quickly. Support, focus on positive memories, gradual exploration, work with creativity and meditation. If you're not creative, if you're not a curious person, if you're not a person that's willing to take some risks, a few calculated risks, you're not living. You're not really, you're going to seek, the light finally comes on, the Wi-Fi. You're going to seek enjoyment in the wrong place. You're going to seek challenge at the wrong place. Many people go to the casino because that's a place of challenge. It is challenging you there, whether you think about it or not. It's the wrong challenge, but that's what you're actually seeking. And that's probably why you're showing up at the casino or playing the roulette or the drac or rolling the craps, what have you. So with that said, I'm just going to say it like it is. And if they shut down the channel, Jim, they shut down the channel because I'm here to support people that are honest, people that truly want to break free and live a life that is exemplary. Right? You don't want to gamble anymore. People that want, that's why I've seen people, Jim, people come through here. They come in because you're stuck. You want to continue to gamble. And if you know, Jim, I thought about this last week. If I'm not here to help gamblers, if I'm not really pushing the envelope to challenge gamblers, to help them, then I'm not doing them a good service. I'm not. So we have to challenge ourselves and we have to challenge the addiction. We have to challenge the problem. All right. I see people going and coming. We'll be here for another few more minutes. I'm going to play this, Jim. I believe it's going to, if anything, it'll help whoever's here watching, and it's going to help me because I really enjoyed this clip. Let's get into this. How our weaknesses can actually help us.
When I was 12 years old, I fell off my bike and I broke my left arm completely in half. The lower part of my forearm came up at a 90-degree angle to the rest of my forearm. They didn't want to do surgery because I was so young, so they put me in traction at the hospital, and they set the bones as best they could, and they put me in a cast up to my shoulder for 3 months. After 3 months, they took the cast off, and they told me I'd be fine, and I thought I was fine until 8 years later when I was 20 years old, and I was in college, and my friend Carl was playing the guitar. I said, Carl, show me how to play the guitar. And he tried, and he failed, and he thought I was an idiot, and I thought I was an idiot. And then we realized they put me back together wrong at the hospital when I was 12. You should be able to do this. It's called supination, when your palm is flat to the ceiling. Pronation, when your palm is flat to the floor. To play the guitar, you have to turn your hand inside out, and I can't turn my left hand over. And it was in that moment that I realized why I had struggled at the drive-thru for so many years. I thought all of us were struggling at the drive-thru, but it turns out that it was just me. Because I can give them the money just fine, but I can't get the change. They're like, sir, you need to turn your hand over. I'm like, okay. They said, but you have to reach it out. I'm like, I was reaching it out. My sister-in-law had a great idea. She said, I need a basket on a stick and just put it in there if you could just...
Listen, if you've been in a car accident, don't call an attorney. Use this AI app instead. That's what I did, and that's how I got.
So it would seem like I have a weakness, I have a problem, I have a disability, I need to fix it, but then something interesting happened. I went to Australia, and in Australia, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, so they drive on the right-hand side of the car. Does anybody know the first place that I drove when I drove in Australia for the first time? I went to the drive-thru. You bet I did, because I wanted to know what it felt like to reach my right arm out the window. Oh, so good. Right? And here's what's important about that story. I'm disabled. I'm damaged. My left arm doesn't work. I function terribly in the American drive-thru, and yet I function perfectly in the Australian drive-thru. Not because I've changed who I am, but because I've changed where I am. I haven't changed the person. I've changed the place. You see, situations are powerful, and situations can either put the spotlight on the best things about us, or they can put the spotlight on the worst things about us. What's interesting is we get to decide what situations we put ourselves in. So what I learned in the Australian drive-thru is that in the right situation, our weaknesses become strengths. I started learning this, or I wish I would have learned this at a much younger age. I was always in trouble at school because of three things. I couldn't sit still, be quiet, or do what I was told. Teachers didn't like me very much. They called me obnoxious, rebellious, inappropriate, immature, told me I had no self-discipline and no self-control. And if I couldn't fix those things, I was never going to be successful. My parents believed the same thing. They called me motor mouth in an effort to remind me that my constant problem was that I couldn't be quiet. But then something interesting happened again. I tried to fix those things for my whole childhood and into early adulthood, but then I started noticing little signs that people liked it when I stood up. They liked it when I talked. They liked it when I did my own thing, and maybe even rebelled a little bit. And as an adult, I became a college professor, and it was my job to stand up and talk, not to sit still and be quiet. I became an entrepreneur, and it was my job to make decisions and to run my own business, not to do what other people tell me to do. And I learned that in the right situation, our weaknesses become strengths. A few years ago, I did my first Ironman triathlon. It's a 2.4-mile swim. It's 3.8 kilometers. It's a 112-mile bike, 180 kilometers. It's a 26.2-mile run, 42 kilometers. And I did the first one in 16 hours and 30 minutes. That's not impressive. There's an 83-year-old Catholic nun named Sister Madonna Booter who did it in 16 hours and 35 minutes. Now, she knows she lost to me. She knows she needs to get better. She's training for it, but I wasn't that amazing. But when I finished, people sent me Facebook messages. They sent me text messages. They sent me voicemail messages praising me and rewarding me for being very, very, very active. Which is interesting, because when I was a kid, I was also very, very, very active. What do we call kids that are very, very, very active? We call them hyperactive. We then pathologize it as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Then we give them medicine that supposedly fixes them and makes them better. My whole life, I got criticized and punished because I couldn't sit still, be quiet, and do what I was told. And then I found Ironman triathlons, and I got praised and rewarded for the very same thing. When I was very, very, very active in one context, I seemed to have a tremendous weakness. When I was very, very, very active in a different context, it seemed like a tremendous strength. In the right situation, our weaknesses become strengths. But this isn't just my story. I started to wonder, is this true for other people? And I discovered Matthias Schlitt. He was born with a genetic abnormality called KTS. And when you're born with KTS, one of your 4 limbs will be gigantic in comparison to the others. For him, it's his right arm. His right arm is 3 times the size of his left arm. And it always will be. There's no treatment. There's no cure. But Matthias Schlitt found the perfect situation for a person who has a gigantic right arm. He became an arm wrestler and found tremendous success. In fact, he's feared by every other human being who does arm wrestling because he has all of the muscle where it matters and none of it where it doesn't. And you arm wrestle by weight class.
I'm going to show you a way to potentially make money.
Okay, so we're gonna stop there. There's a little bit more to that video. Very interesting video, how our weaknesses, and that's a TED Talk. If you're interested, you can shoot me a message. I realize that it takes time to view these things, to learn. It actually takes time to learn. Something that most people are not willing to invest in anymore that much. Isn't that the truth, Jim? Most people today they're not willing to pay attention. They're not willing to educate themselves, and they'd rather be ignorant to things that are happening. And they're things that are happening all around us. I've been very ignorant to a lot of things, and I've lost out on many, many, many great opportunities. But I decided that, you know what? I'm going to look at what's going on around me. I'm going to look at myself, and I'm going to really start looking at these things. You know, what is it? I find today that because of support, because I've sought support, because I focused on positive memory, I have been actually fulfilling some of my dreams from my teen years that I thought about, and I'm actually fulfilling them today. It's really strange. I'm not saying in a full spectrum, but I can see bits and pieces, almost like it's evolving. So, working with therapists, particularly someone trained in trauma therapy, can help you safely assess memories. They can guide you through reflecting on childhood without overwhelming you. Focus on positive memories. You try to remember the things that made you happy or feel safe. The things that made you happy or made you feel safe. You know, what makes you feel happy? What makes you feel safe today? A lot of people don't know what to do. A lot of people don't know where to invest. A lot of people don't know what to do with their time. A lot of people. How many, Santos? I don't know, 80% of the population, 85, maybe 90% of the population. People don't want to read emails. They don't even want to clean their emails. It's horrible. And then we complain about this, the other thing, and we complain. It reminds me of the story of the children that came out of Egypt, and God was giving them everything, and all they were doing was complaining. Eventually, I think the ground swallowed them. The ground opened up and swallowed all of them at one point. Work with creativity and meditation. Gradual exploration. And Jim, I know you're thinking, I'm going to go slowly when revisiting your past. Journaling or talking about smaller, less overwhelming memories can help build confidence. Starting with less traumatic memories might give you a clear view of the parts of your childhood. Isn't that weird that you could actually tie your future to your past somewhat? There's a tie-in. In other words, there's a string. There's a string that goes, that's from your past, and it's tied to you today. And there's some information that travels through that string, like an imaginary string, if you will. And you can tap into that And it's only by the grace of God that you can even do that. Only by the grace of God. Go ahead, Jim. I got.
I think we have to ask ourselves, you know, are we worth the win? What do I mean? Are we worth the win? Look, everyone's going through this battle of addiction.
Yeah.
Fighting addiction now. Okay, so I mean, like, you have to go and put in a lot of effort, energy, focus, time, concentration if you're going to overcome this. And you have to ask yourself and be real with yourself. Do I feel like I'm worth it? Am I worth it? You know, is there a purpose for me to go ahead and put all this effort, you know, put myself through this pain, having to go and look at myself in a real way, expose myself to myself and see all the perceived flaws, my weaknesses? You know, it's uncomfortable, right? Am I willing to go and put myself through all this stuff? Am I worth it? Do I see anything better beyond where I am? I mean, it's like, I think that's the thing. We have to go and buy into, you
Yeah, but
know.
what do you mean, Jim? When you say, "Do I have to go?" See, we have to be very careful, Jim, because if we're not careful, we're actually we're using our own self-talk to bring us backwards instead of going forward. If you're not living with creativity and curiosity, you're slowly moving backwards, Jim.
Well, when I say, are we worth it? You have to ask yourself, you know, where has my mind? You're basically confronting your mindset, because all these years before and to the present, you know, I have been keeping this inertia holding me down. Why
Yeah, but
is
you're confronting.
I really?
You're actually confronting what is necessary, Jim.
Yeah,
You're
but
not
you see,
confronting
that
'cause-
takes effort. That takes
yeah,
effort. That takes a
but you
lot
have
of
to
thought.
confront what is necessary, because if we're not careful, again, we start to broaden everything that we're doing. If we're not careful, again, we won't even take the first step. We'll talk about these things, Jim. We can talk forever. And that's one of the reasons why I know for a fact there's many gamblers right now that have fallen away. They've fallen away because they haven't been challenged. There hasn't been someone that said, "Hey, you know what? There's a better way.
There's a
There's a better vision."
yeah.
Right?
There's
There's
a guy.
somebody in their life, and maybe they did come across my path, and I wasn't bold enough in some way. So, I, like I said, times are getting difficult for all of us. I don't know how long I will personally be alive on YouTube, because YouTube can shut me down at any moment. They can shut me down. They can stop me. They can stop my voice from helping people, right? From helping people become better, for helping people become more curious. Your imagination. If you're not living in some kind of an imagination today, like a childlike faith, then you're basically you're robbing yourself, and you're being robbed, and you're letting yourself be robbed because you're too distracted. And I'm not saying that this is we are distracted, Jim. There's powers that are over us. There's things that we're not going to be able to control. And we don't know how much freedom I don't know. They say that we're losing our freedoms here in the United States. I still feel pretty free, but I'm beginning to see a lot of things changing. And if I don't get my act together and figure out, what is my vision? What is my purpose? What is my very best during these dark days? What is my very best during these dark days? Then I'm wasted life. I'm wasting my life. I might as well just go find a place to die. Might as well go find a place to die, because there's no life. There's no challenge. There's no energy. I might as well go back to the casino. At least in the casino, I'll get some kind of challenge, right? It'll be a negative challenge. Of course, I'm not going to go there, but the pressure is overwhelming on a lot of people. That's why I'm asking you, you know, if we're coming to this podcast, I definitely don't want to waste anybody's time. I need to be challenged. I need good questions. And and sadly, where you don't feel challenged, where you don't feel like you're really growing, you kind of step away from it. If that makes sense. You do, because you want to give, but you can only give to where something is actually it's got to produce, man. And today it's like it's getting more difficult. Honestly, Jim, it's getting more difficult to connect with people of value, people that are honest, people that have accountability, people that have integrity. And this is what I'm finding in my own life. I got to square up on all that shit too. Right? Because who would want me on their group if I don't have anything to offer? Who would want me in their fucking? As we go further into the future and things get tighter and they can see through people, and people that are afraid, walking around afraid with no confidence, and they don't have any assurance in themselves. All this stuff is just being exposed. Man, the vultures are going to come in and they're going to take advantage of those situations big time.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that we go ahead and focus on what's outside instead of what's inside. We're so concerned about pursuing, like the magic bullet instead of, I guess, developing what we need to develop in ourselves. Like, there's that guy, John Maxwell, he's a great speaker.
I actually seen him in person.
He talked about, and it's written on a school wall. It says, dreams don't work unless you do. Okay. So you got to go and work. You got to put effort. Now, the question is, do you have motivation? Do you have a vision to go ahead and find a reason to go on work? And that's where I'm trying to go right there. Mm-hmm. Why are we not moving away from these addictions? We know it's a better place. We say it out loud, but do we have any faith in ourselves? Do we see ourselves worth it? Can we see ourselves better? Do we have any kind of faith beyond what our current situation is right now? Any kind of belief that will go and allow us to put in the work, put in the focus, put in the conscious effort? Because look, when we're trying to overcome these bad addictions, it takes a lot of work. We got to go and see the ugly side of ourselves. We have to go and deal with ourselves. Now, there has to be a big carrot, on a stick.
Yeah, but see, Jim, I want to share something with you, Jim. You just said that. In fact, if you repeat what you just said, you talked about that we have to look at all. Did you say all that we have to look at our dark side? Isn't that what you said? We have to look at our dark.
We have to be truthful to ourselves. We can't we can't go ahead and walk around.
That's true.
Say, oh, everything is great. My self-talk, I'm great. No, you got to go ahead and be real with yourself here.
Yes.
Be objective. Look,
you have to be real, but Jim, here's the thing that we have to understand.
These are bringing me down.
Yeah, here's the thing that we have to understand, okay? We have to focus on the one particular thing, right? That doesn't mean that we have to go down a total path of darkness, Jim.
I think we have to prepare.
Does that make sense? If there's something, let me see. If there's right now, right, like I was talking about, maybe I'm trying to find some motivation in my life, right? And I don't have that motivation. But the moment that I was able to step back into my past and take a peek over the few days or a few weeks, I was able to look back and I saw some things that actually works to this day. So I didn't have to go back and look at everything in my darkness, right, in the past, because there's, like I was reading here on going back, fragmented memories, survival mode. Jim, most of us, there's people today that are living at high level of survival mode. I don't know, maybe you're living in a high level of survival mode. We all live at a certain survival mode, right? But you cannot live at high levels of survival mode. You got to come down. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that you got to be creative. That means that you got to figure things out.
You have to recognize that you're in survival mode. Because you can go on a diet. You can say, oh, I'm going to go and quit this or quit that. after what has happened, but then you're back in the same spot because
correctly. So then you shouldn't say, you should not
you are
say,
still in that zone without confronting what is keeping you down. You see?
but you should not say what you just said there, Jim. We should not tell ourselves that we're going to do something and then not do it. That's the worst thing that you could don't even talk about it. Well, struggle with it if you want to, but don't tell yourself that you're going to do this and the other thing. That's the worst thing. And then you don't do it. That's the worst thing that you can do to yourself. It's better off that you don't even talk about it. Struggle with your problem, be challenged with it. Don't mention it to nobody. Give it to God. But the moment that you start saying to yourself or to other people, I'm done with this, I'm going to quit, I'm going to do the other thing. If you do it once or twice and you slip up, that's one thing. But when you continually do that to yourself, you're going to, I'm telling you, pardon my French, but you're going to fuck yourself up.
And that's the reason why we have to
look at
ourselves in
your head. Yeah.
Way.
Many people struggle with that, but that's, again, many people struggle with that. But the goal of this community for all of us is, we can we can go so deep in this program. We can get really dark in here. That's something that we don't want to do because that's going to bring us all down.
Well,
okay?
If you want to
we need to look at these things. We need to look at these things that we're all going through. We need to figure out, like, for instance, Jim, there's a vision that you need to create for yourself. And sharing with you and you sharing with me, I can tell there's a vision. There's something that obviously you want to do. You want to work on. You want maybe whatever it is that's holding you back from that. It's the same thing with me, right? With other people, we all have these little fragmented areas. But when we're coming here, I just want to let us all know that we're all struggling to a certain degree. But we really, really just need to focus on finding that step and taking action. If we're not taking action, we're going to complain about it. We're going to continue to go over the same thing over and over and over and over.
And that's what that one guy on that TED Talk was talking about. He wasn't aware. He wasn't aware. He did not confront his disability. You see, he was just living his life and he was frustrated until he identified that disability in his arm. It's like, I have it. I can't turn my, it's like, and he went through some trauma right there. He went through some trauma. And that's something that the gambler, the addict has to go ahead and realize. It's like, I have to go and face myself, my situation. This is real. It is a frightening thing to go ahead and deal with myself. It takes my imagination to the depths of hell. It's like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm so crippled, right? But that's what the gambler, that's what the addict has to go through to relook at themselves in an honest way and say,
and again, depending, my fault. Yeah, it is accurate what you're saying, Jim. But again, the addict there's different levels of addict too, right? You can't lump all the addicts in one point. It's like Sam Krish was an addict in the gambling. He was on a whole different level than I was. So in other words, we're gambling, right? But there's a reason why we're gambling. And gambling doesn't have to do just specifically with a casino. It could be for whatever reason. It is what's underneath. And it is dark, Jim. But we don't have to make it. In other words,
we got to dig it up. We
can talk about certain things, but what happens is people just go too far, right? You go spreading, you go into one area and you can just keep spreading and spreading and spreading, and then you don't fix anything at all. You don't fix nothing at all. And that's the problem with all of us. We talk about these things. So that's why I say I issue a challenge at the end of every program. We're coming to the end of the program. I issue a challenge. How many people are actually putting their hands up and accepting the challenge? I'm doing it, right? I'm accepting the challenge. How many other people are? I don't know. I don't see any hands. Maybe somebody said, yeah, they will. So again, it is about challenging ourselves. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge those that come into my presence because I know that's exactly what we need. And I say this, okay, challenge. I say that in a positive way. Does everybody need a challenge? We all need challenge. Sometimes we need a little bit of rest, right? Sometimes we need a little bit of this or a little bit, but in life, you'll find that you're going to go after what challenges you, whether you recognize it or not. So why not look for the challenges that are going to be best for you? Why not steer in that direction? Look for those challenges that are best for you. Become creative in those areas. Use your imagination. Go back to your childhood if you have to.
Yeah.
Think about where you're at today. That's all I'm doing here. That's what I want to really impose upon people, because if we're going to be stuck and closed-minded and it's just dark and it's really creepy and it's going to be hard all the time, and Jim, if we're not careful, we'll fall into that rut and we won't grow. We have to challenge. We have to get out. It's like a perfect example. I didn't want to learn about cryptocurrency. I didn't want to read about the blockchain, but yet I'm reading about what's happening to our funds in the United States banking system, right? Called centralized finance. If you really investigate, in fact, you don't even want to go there because it's scary what's happening with the centralized financing system in the United States. So what do you do? Well, I'm not going to close my eyes. I'm not going to look at anything else. Well, there's gold, there's silver, there's platinum, there's cryptocurrencies, there's the blockchain. There's other things. Anyways, I'm getting too excited here because I just get passionate about really, I truly want to help people, Jim, but I feel sometimes, and sometimes I might even feel it on this broadcast, like we need to challenge ourselves and see growth. We need to experience growth. We need to be excited about growth.
But there has to be a reason. There has to be
exactly, a reason. And that's why we've been talking about this vision.
Why should I challenge myself? Why should I go ahead and challenge myself? It's like, I think we need to challenge.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim.
Go ahead and
why is it that you don't want to challenge yourself? Why is it that you don't want to challenge yourself?
The reason why.
Answer that.
I would say the reason why we don't want to go and challenge ourselves.
No, you. I'm speaking about you.
The reason why we don't want to challenge ourselves is because we can go ahead and open doors to go and see things that we don't really like. Okay, we don't want to go and deal with. It's like the people who are not going through the 7-day challenge. It's like, okay, so they fall. The question is why? Why am I not putting the effort into myself? Why am I not putting the effort into myself to go ahead and get out of this mess?
Well,
why is that? See, when you open the door, you might find something that you don't want to go and see. You see, you might, and that's the reason why we keep that door shut. And you go back to the casino, you go back to your addiction, and I think that's part of the reason. It's like, okay, so I am not doing this, even though I know on paper it's good for me. I know it'll be good for my bank account, but I keep on doing this, The
question is that if we're continually doing the wrong thing, right? The number one reason is because we don't want to stop doing it. There's nothing valuable in leaving that. There's if I continue to gamble or if I continue to drink alcohol, I find more value in that than in anything else. And there gets a point in our lives where that becomes so valuable that we may not return from it. We may not return from the alcohol. We may not return from the gamble. We may not return from becoming completely bitter. And there's people that are very bitter in the world today. They go out and they do some very ugly things to other people because they're bitter. They're like time bombs. They're like an exploding time bomb inside. And all it takes is just one little, their wick somewhere, powder keg. So, again, we have to determine in these days that we're living in, Jim, we have in these days that we're living in, if we're honest with ourselves, if we're honest in looking out into the world, it's a very dangerous and complex, territory. So the way that we've been operating is the way we've been operating. In fact, the way that people have been operating is being exposed. if you notice that. So we have to be able to adapt and change to these new things that are going on all around us. And not only that, to ourselves. You have to be able to understand who you are. If you don't understand who you are and what you're curious about and how you think and why you're thinking, you know, why am I here, right? Before I come to this program, why am I here? If I'm not thinking about these kinds of things, why am I here? I'm wasting my time, Jim, or anybody else that's here.
Why am I here? Am I worth it? Am I worth going through all the effort that I need to go ahead and put myself through?
Well, people have to determine that.
That is the question right there.
Yeah, people.
I think our purpose is not to go ahead and change people. I think our purpose is to go and give people an ability to look within themselves and see that they have the ability to see different perspectives.
Exactly.
They can. You have a choice of believing in yourself. You have a choice of saying that, you know what, I am worth it. I don't have to think this way. I don't have to go out and keep doing what I'm doing. I don't have to go and see myself as a loser, as an addict. I can see a better life in front of me. I can go ahead and choose, and we have ideas, right? We have ideas. But I think ultimately we need to, I guess, encourage that idea of people being able to see something within themselves, that I can go in the right direction. I can change, and I don't have to continuously look at myself in this particular way, see myself as a gambler, as a loser, as an addict.
And what is going to cause all of that work?
It is
the hope. Start somewhere.
You gotta go ahead and say, I have hope in myself. I believe I can go ahead and do it. Even though I am in darkness right now, even though my bank account is negative, even though I'm going to be evicted out of my house, because of my debts, right? I can see a better something better. It's going to go ahead and take effort. It's going to take pain, but it's going to be worth it because I'm worth it, and I can go ahead and I can make a difference. I can make a difference in my life.
Well, either way, you're making a difference, whether you recognize it or not. You're making a difference.
Yeah.
So here's what we want to start ending the broadcast with. This is what's important for all of us. Again, what's important, right? What's important to you? What is important? If you're not thinking, I don't know why you would even be here if you're not even thinking about these kinds of things. If you're not into true self-development, I don't know why you would be here. Because again, my mission is to basically help a few other people, just a handful. I thought it would be in the thousands and millions, but I'm realizing that even the Bible says that many are walking the broad way into destruction. Many, that's the consensus. Many are walking that way, yes. Few are the ones that find the thin, straight, narrow road. So if I feel all alone on YouTube, or if I feel all alone with my emails, or if I feel all alone on the road, I must be on the right path, because the right path is the narrow and straight path. And there's not too many people. Maybe there's strange people on that road, Jim. Maybe we're strange. I don't know. But my mission in life is to help a few other people get to where they want to get to. And in my case, that might be the P.N.G.Z zone, right? Share some resources with a few people along the way. Help educate people so that we don't live in ignorance, because most of the time we're living in ignorance and we don't want to admit it, or we don't, for whatever reason, we do. I know I do. Whenever I feel so stupid, but I don't want to keep repeating the same mistakes. And one thing that I'm going to start doing more and more of this new year is you have to recognize who you are, and you have to recognize the authority that you have over your life. If you do not recognize who you are and the authority that you have over your life and who you are is going to run over you. It's like train your brain or your brain is going to train you. It's going to keep you in a negative mode. It's going to keep you in an untrustworthy mode. And you're going to hide from people. You're going to do your sins. Nobody's going to see. Well, there's other people that see what you're doing. And you're just going to continue down that path. And then who knows where that path is going to lead you. If you don't want that, if you want to try at least to avoid it, who knows? I could end up homeless. Could it happen? I'm going to do my best to avoid it. I was homeless before. I know what that's like. So again, validate your experience. It's important to recognize these things. In summary, although trauma can make revisiting your childhood dreams, ambitions, passions more complex, it is possible to uncover what you were thinking or dreaming about. It's important to do this in a way that feels safe and supportive. With the help, you can get the help of you can be supported by a community, you can be supported by a counselor, even a coach, possibly, depending on what his expertise is, to help recover some of those thoughts and passions that you had when you were younger. They should motivate you, especially if you're thinking, well, man, I thought about that back then. Why couldn't I achieve it? Even you have more experience today. If you haven't achieved what you wanted to do back then, why couldn't you do it today? The only thing that's holding you back is yourself and maybe some ignorance. Yourself and maybe some ignorance. So with that said, folks, I'm going to issue a straight up challenge on this broadcast. And honestly, I'm going to just say it the way it is. I want to see if there's somebody in this group, one or two people that are really serious about going 7 days with me without gambling. I'm going to end the broadcast here pretty soon. I'm going to give Jim a thought, but I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm issuing you a challenge on the other side. If you're struggling and you're losing money and you're depressed and you feel like shit on Monday morning, I'm issuing you a challenge with me to go 7 days without gambling. Anybody? Let's see how serious we all are about change. I'm going to issue the challenge. I'm going to put up my hand. I'm no gamble. Right here. Give you guys a few minutes here. We've gone over the hour. Anybody else? Anybody else want to be challenged to not gamble? If you're here, you should be putting up your hand. If you're here on this broadcast, you should be saying, yes, Santos, I'm going to take this challenge on, especially if you're hurting financially. If gambling is whooping your behind. Anybody? Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, City by the Bay asks, how do you track money in your life?
Raymond,
I think
congratulations on your continued effort. Yep, go ahead. All right, we've actually come to the end of the broadcast. We're going to have to take up some of this stuff on another time. Jim, go ahead and share your thought, but we're way over. I got to get off the airwaves.
Oh yeah, he talks about how do you attract money in your life. Yeah, you have to go ahead and you just start doing what you can. I mean, think about your skills, what you can do. I remember just saying, okay, I have a truck, I have a weed whacker, I'll just go and go do work. You have to go and put effort into it. And then all of a sudden you start using your imagination to unlock ideas of, well, how can I do more? How can I make more, right? Based upon what I'm doing. It builds off of what you are doing, but you got to start, you see. And I think once you go ahead and get started on that path of making money, you substitute that awful addiction of losing money at the casino with an addiction of making money. You know, wouldn't that be a wonderful substitute? If you find an idea of making money and growing that idea. So, but you got to start. Look at your situation, look what you have, look at your resources, and then just start taking action. Cleaning toilets. Okay, I can clean a toilet. I can go to different people's places and clean. I take the effort in, right? But you see, when you do the work, your mind starts creating, new ideas in refining ways to make money, better ways, faster ways.
I'm going to share something with you here because I got to end. But I see one person out of all these individuals that said, I'm willing to do it. I hope the best for you this new year, whoever you are, if you're still gambling. I really hope the best for you because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not winning, you're losing. If you're not winning, you're losing, and you're going to continue to lose your money and more. Within this group, we've had a few people, and there's been some very sharp people in this group, very wise individuals. Okay. If we were to get together and think about what's really happening in the world of finance today, there's only two places that you can actually visit financially in the world today: centralized finance and decentralized finance. There's opportunities. If we were smart, we could come together on this broadcast and we could brainstorm. You could bring a little bit of information. I could bring a little bit of information. And since we already know each other, we can kind of trust each other. This is just a thought. I'm throwing it out there. Right? I bring my information about the world of finances, crypto, decentralized finance, what have you. You bring your piece. Jim brings his piece. Doesn't mean that we throw money into the pot. When we come together and we share ideas and we use our time valuable and we come out ahead, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe next week or Wednesday, will come out and start talking about some of the things that I'm seeing in the world today that are opportunities that people with $100 can participate in if they wanted to. If you're open to these kinds of things, be here on Wednesday. We'll talk about this. We'll go forward. That's what helping people really is all about. Right? I'm involved with other people that are willing to help me. I invest with people that are willing to help me. That's what I do online on other projects. We could do that here. There's people here that know about trading. You might know about Forex. You might know about gold. You might know about silver. You might know about some hack where you can come in and multiply over a little bit of time, and it might be very secure, right? Because you understand it. We're not in the scams. We're not in the gambles and trickery and stuff like that. That's the one thing that I would never get into here. But we have to use our mind, creativity, folks. It's getting darker out there, and the minds that are shining, the brains that are blowing up inside here that people can see, there's something about those people out there. They're going to shine like a light bulb and help other people shine. That's all I have to say, folks. We're going to see you Wednesday. Again, 7-day challenge is on. We'll be here at 7:30. 7:30. People say, well, I'm late and all that stuff. Don't be late. Come in on time and participate. In other words, be mission-minded so that you can get the most out of the hour and we can get the most out of your hour. We can work together, right? It's not about Jim. It's not about me. It's about all of us contributing and working and walking away from this P.N.G.Z cast number 381 better than when we came in. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. The 7-day challenge is on. Jim, thank you for your input and the challenge. I always appreciate a challenge. So with that said, we'll see you guys at the top.
Okay, thanks. See you on Wednesday.
City by the Bay. If there's something else that you want to share, I'll give you about 10 seconds, Jim. City by the Bay, Race, Raymond, Mr. Keyvan, Laura, Mark was with us there for a little bit. I get preaching, people leave the broadcast. I agree, man. It's like fire. I get like fired up because my ass was getting kicked with gambling. That's why I get fired up, probably. I know what it was. The Beautiful Duckling, Blaze Journey, and who? Okay, I'm done. Jim, 30 seconds.
Yeah, just wanted to go ahead and emphasize. Remember to value yourself. Remember to go and value other people. And remember that you have the ability to create value for yourself and other people. Always think about that. How do I go ahead and create value for myself? Yep. That's education, that's learning, right? That's helping others, that's taking action, that's confronting our demons, and pushing through those limiting beliefs about ourselves. Okay, so yeah, right? Value yourself, value others, and value your ability to go ahead and create value for you and everyone else.
For you and everyone else. All right, guys and gals.
Take care. I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good